Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach.
Our Torah portion this week says, Moadei Adonai, Asher Tikra'u Otam. These are God's chosen times, joyous occasions of sacred gathering for the Jewish people. Well, that is exactly why we are here. This Torah portion tells us all about the joy of the sacred gathering of Shabbat and other holidays, and we have come from Westport and Weston and farther away with family and friends, and we've joined via the live stream from all different points on the campus to be together to celebrate Shabbat on this evening. This gathering, this occasion is sacred and holy and set apart. It's different from the rest of our lives because this is a place and an hour of celebration, friendship, community, contemplation, breath, singing, and perhaps even a little prayer. So welcome, friends. We're so glad that you're here. Whether you have been here many, many times or this is your first time, we welcome you to Temple Israel in person or digitally. I'm Rabbi Michael Friedman, so pleased to be joined by Rabbi Ilana Nemtov-Bressler, by Cantor Julia Cadrain, by Mike and Yusuf, and our everybody managing the tech and AV, Sean and Chris, and of course, Stephanie, our Director of Programs and Member Engagement, who is with us as well. We're also joined by some families celebrating beautiful sacred occasions. We have Phoebe, we're so glad to have you tonight to our bat mitzvah for tomorrow. We're so happy to have you come up and light the candles. We invite you to join us. And following the candle blessing, we will also sing the blessing for counting the Omer, this time of journeying from Passover to Shavuot through the Jewish springtime, counting each day as we go.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer.
The counting of the Omer celebrates our journey from Passover to Shavuot. It's an opportunity to witness joy each day. And so today we count Hayom Shloshim Yom, Shehem, Arba Shavuot V'Shtei Yamim LaOmer. Today is the 30th day of the Omer, which makes 4 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. We welcome in the beauty of Shabbat with our psalms. These psalms elevate our Shabbat experience as they prepare us to witness, connecting back to the second soul that we are given on Shabbat. The sages say this is a gift we get, and the psalms help us prepare to welcome them in. We turn to page 130 for our first psalm.
Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. Yai la la la, yai la 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 la. Yai la la la, yai la la. Yai la la la, yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Lechu neranena. Lechu neranena l'Adonai. Navia letzur yishenu. V'kadma fanav v'toda. V'yizmirot nari halom. V'yizmirot nari halom. Yai la la, yai la la la, yai la 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 la. Yai la la la, yai la la. Yai la la la, yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Let us sing unto God. Let us sing unto God. Sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God. Sing unto God a new song. Yai la la, yai la la la, yai la 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 la. Yai la la la, yai la la. Yai la la la, yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. We'll turn to the bottom of page 134, 133, 133.
if our psalms are meant to prepare us for Shabbat, L'Chadodi is the moment that we welcome our Shabbat beloved into our midst. It's a beautiful acrostic poem wherein we are welcomed to the beauty of what Shabbat can bring. We'll pray verses 1, 2, 5, and rise in body or in spirit on verse 9. Not yet, on verse 9. We are on pages 138 to 139.
Bo
A beautiful part about praying in community is getting to know the community in which we pray. I invite you to turn to someone next to you, behind you, in front of you, and introduce yourself and say Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 146 for Baruch Hu, our call to prayer. Page 146, Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la la.
Please be seated. You know, the calendar flipped to spring several weeks ago, but sometimes God has other plans. And it seems now, after a few weeks of very cold and wet weather, God's ready for it to be spring. Thank you, God. On page 148, let's join together in these words, thanking God for all the miracles of the changing of seasons, the blossoming of flowers, and the blooming of trees. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Avayim. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kulnecha uk'shartam lehot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Each and every time we pray together, we sing our original song of freedom, Mi Chamocha, that we first sang when we passed through the parted waters of the sea and emerged on the far shore, a free people. Why do we constantly rehearse and repeat and reenact this miracle? It's to teach us, first, that there is always possibility in the next step ahead. It's to teach us, second, to never stop treasuring the gift of freedom that we enjoy. And finally, it's to remind us that there is a better place that we're headed to eternally. So please join with me on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef eleh, nora tehilot, osef eleh. Who is like you, Adonai? Adonai.
There's a verse in our Psalms that describes God spreading out the heavens like a talit. Well, tonight, as we turn to Hashkivenu, a prayer for peace on page 160, we might imagine that God first spreads a shelter of peace, a talit, a shelter of peace over our own homes, over our own families. And then that shelter spreads a little bit farther to those we love who may be far away, our friends and family in other area codes and states and countries. And then it spreads even farther, maybe even to those we don't know, those of every race and nation surely deserving of God's protection and shelter and the gift of peace. 160, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. 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 V'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim.
Please rise. The blessings of the Amidah begin on page 164.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai open up our lips that our mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagivor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia Morid Atah Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Le'emunato Lishenei Afar Michamacha Ba'al Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai בחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We'll invite you to be seated, please. As we turn our thoughts now to those who are in need of healing, and I want to recognize that in this moment, as we're asking for ease and comfort, we connect with those who came before us. We call out to God saying, Misha Berach Avotenu, may you, God, the one who blessed our parents and our ancestors, bless us as well. This is an acknowledgement that we're not alone in our suffering. Our ancestors needed to ask God for healing and strength just like us. Sickness can be so isolating, and it can help us to remember that we stand in a long line of those who have asked for God's blessing as they wrestled with illness. God was with our ancestors then, and God is with us now. So if you came into this room with a name on your heart of someone who is in need of healing, I'll invite you to share those now. And if you're joining us on the live stream, we'll invite you to say the name aloud wherever you are or type it into the chat. We hold those names too. And I'll share the names of those who have been made known to us in our community who are in need of healing. Gerald Backman, Gabby Buckman, Mary Wheeler-Braun, John Burns, Alex Carr, Al Delardi, Freda Easton, Steve Elliott, Beth Field, Sue Flown, Fred Friedman, Louise Friedman, Maurice Friedman, Jackie Fuchs, Roy Fuchs, Lanny Gans, Sandra Halperin, Jeff Helfand, Kenneth Kay, Sheldon Manspizer, Don Matthews, Harriet Koppelman-Mancheski, Robbie Rajano, Nancy Selikoff, Marcia Silber, Stan Stern, Jill Stewart, Nancy Vega, Moshe Yaakov Ben Yocheved. We turn to page 371. Pray for healing for them all. Misheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, We'll continue now with a few moments of personal reflection and prayer using the words in your book or the words of your heart. page 178. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people, a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki ata melech adon lechol ha'shalom. melech adon lechol ha'shalom, lechol ha'shalom. Shalom Rav, shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. V'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol leit u'choshan b'shlomecha, b'shlomecha. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love.
At the age of 7, I befriended a girl named Amy. Her smile lit up any room she was in, and she had the most infectious laugh. Not to mention, I loved and coveted her thick, straight blonde hair. We spent every day at recess together, giggling and smiling. At a retreat a few years ago, I met a woman named Lauren. She was a rabbinical student in New York, passionate about Talmud learning and inclusion. We clicked immediately, and I enjoyed sitting next to her throughout the retreat. We commented on the presentations, discussed the presenters' styles and the content, both of us skeptical, challenging, prodding each other. Amy and Lauren were both very good friends. Sadly, according to a few short verses in the book of Leviticus, it's clear that in another time and place, they wouldn't count. They wouldn't matter. Why? According to the book of Leviticus, the person responsible for the entire system of animal sacrifices that God commanded, the high priest, couldn't have a blemish, something physically different about them. Amy had cerebral palsy and wasn't able to talk. She may have had things to say, and I believe she did, yet she couldn't express them verbally. She was in a wheelchair. Squeals, giggles, and laughs were all that emanated from her mouth. Lauren is blind. Her brain functions beautifully. She's an incredible friend. She happens to not be able to see the way the rest of us do. Anyone coming across these two women can see that they have disabilities. Lauren walks with a red and white cane. Amy is in a bulky wheelchair pushed by an aide. I saw them as friends, unconcerned with what was for me a physical difference, not an emotional one. Our Torah doesn't quite see it that way. The prohibition against those with blemishes, those who are blind, deaf, walk with a limp, or have scaly skin like psoriasis or eczema, was due to concern about how a defect would impact one's ability to serve as a priest and offer the requisite animal sacrifices. These sacrifices were God's way of ensuring that people were committed to God and to the pursuit of becoming a more holy people. The rabbis believed that someone with these defects wasn't able to appropriately perform the duties of the priesthood and would somehow pollute the most sacred spaces. They dismissed anyone who was different on the outside without consideration for who the person was and what they could actually offer the community. Putting aside for the moment that neither Amy nor Lauren would qualify for the priesthood due to the fact that they're women, limiting their ability to participate in one of the most holy roles in our community simply because of a physical difference is wrong. What message does this send to the community when we think about how many people it excluded from participation in this most sacred role? Creating a community based on exclusionary practices means allowing a system of hierarchy where one person can judge another simply because of their external characteristics. And that person who is judged unfit then becomes lower in the eyes of the one who judges them and the community as a whole. All of a sudden, a rather simple distinction for the purpose of priestly service becomes a measure for isolating another. Moving from the ancient world to 2023, we realize just how othering those prohibitions are. Although we don't have the priesthood at all today, the idea that someone would be barred from participation in the ritual components of the Jewish community, think reading our Torah, leading our Amidah, blowing the shofar, or even giving a sermon like I am, simply because they're in a wheelchair or are blind or have a broken arm or leg, is devastating. Many of us, in fact, have blemishes, whether visible or invisible, that would render us unfit for the service of the priesthood. And in fact, for participation in some parts of Jewish life, according to this. In fact, who of us is completely unblemished? I would argue none of us. Each of us has something or things, a physical difference, an emotional challenge, some element of who we are that would make us unable to take on the role of priest or an active role in Jewish life. Some are more apparent than others, yet all are elements of who we are. We are Reformed Jews, and we believe that every individual is made B'Tselem Elohim in God's image and deserves to be recognized as valuable, especially here at Temple Israel, where we believe that each person's presence and unique gifts matter and are valued. Therefore, we proudly take our Torah as a tapestry in which we find our stories, rather than a direct book for how we live. Our blemishes, in fact, make us who we are. They make us unique and powerful. We are better able to support others as we come from a wealth of experience. We are all made better by noticing those with differences. That's all of us. And actively allowing each person to own their experience and their story. When we allow ableism, discrimination, and prejudice against people with differences to limit who can participate in our community, we allow ourselves to become closed off to the beauty of the world around us. About a year ago, someone came into my office and said, I have a child who I want to start Kesher, but they have learning differences, but they have an IEP at school. And I said, we can't wait to welcome them to Kesher. We find a way to honor every single learner as they are and in what they need. When we allow the multiplicity of people, experiences, and expressions of humanity to all participate in our Jewish community, we elevate our community to an even higher and stronger place. Amy and Lauren taught me that their physical disabilities were just one part of who they were. I got to know who they were and sometimes talked with Lauren about how hard it was to be told she wasn't allowed to participate in certain parts of Jewish life. In fact, I found that Lauren has a different perspective on Judaism because of who she is. She taught me that we can reinterpret Jewish tradition when it says a person doesn't belong. And that's true with so many who have differences. What would happen if we all took time to notice all of those in our community, whether they have a physical disability or something much harder to see? What if we took time to discover how what makes them different, internally or externally, actually makes them a valuable asset to our community? What if we acknowledge that we are in fact part of a people with a history of ableism, although so much of Judaism has worked hard and continues to work to excise a sense of otherness? Remember, each one of us has some aspect of being other. Take time to talk to everyone, to see who they are. As we are taught we're made B'Tselem Elohim, that's why we have the opportunity to see everyone's differences, everyone's defects, according to the Torah, those elements that make them unique. Instead of purposely singling out someone who looks different to us, it means approaching everyone, learning from everyone. We've learned from ourselves, we know that our Bima is not the most accessible place. We will one day, God willing, update our sanctuary and our whole building to be a place where everyone's differences will be honored and included. Help us today and every day become the most inclusive and welcoming community we can be. Help us honor everyone and their individual components that make them the best member of our community.
Amen. Yasher koach. Friends, we're so glad that our Shabbat evening gatherings are a place where we can celebrate all kinds of life cycle milestones. And so it is with that in mind that we are so pleased to invite George Claros to our Bima. We invite all to rise as we invite George before our ark. Now, George, in my 19 years as a rabbi, I have officiated many, many conversion ceremonies. I think you're the most seasoned human being who we have helped enter into Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. You've been part of this congregation for decades. You've been with us through illness and health, through periods of joy and loss. And as you turned 80 recently, you decided that it was time for a new chapter. You decided, I want to become Jewish, not before I die, but rather so that I can truly live these next many years, God willing, of my life. Our Torah, in the portion that we read on Yom Kippur, says, "You stand here today, all of you, the entire community of Israel, before Adonai our God." And that all of us includes those who were alive at that time, those who were born Jewish, and those who may not have been born Jewish, but just were waiting for their opportunity, for the right moment. You, George, and anyone else who became Jewish, was there too at Sinai. And the Torah, in just a few verses later, tells us God has set before us good and evil, life and death. Therefore, choose life. George, throughout your days on this earth, you have repeatedly chosen life. And now at age 80, as you have joined the Jewish people just a few days ago, entering the mikvah and officially becoming Jewish, you have affirmed life once again for yourself, for your family, and for this wonderful congregation. You have been guarded and supported along this journey by your wonderful wife, Wendy, by your in-laws of blessed memory, by your neighbors, our congregants, Bruce and Amy Schneider, and their son, Michael, who's with us, I believe, via the live stream today, and by many other family members and friends. And so it is that you, one of the brand newest members of the Jewish people, we want to give you this oldest blessing that we have in our entire tradition.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha ken yehi ratzon ken yehi ratzon.
George, may God always watch over you and keep you safe.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka ken yehi ratzon ken yehi ratzon.
May God's light shine through you and be with you always.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasev lecha shalom 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 ken yehi ratzon ken yehi ratzon.
May God bless you with peace in your heart, in your home, and in our world. And we all say,
Amen.
May it be so.
Thank you so much.
Some well-deserved hugs for you, George, and some well-deserved congratulations and mazel tov. No matter how many days we may choose and affirm life, one day our days will come to an end. And so it is with so many of those whom we have loved. They've lived a full life, a life of joy and celebration and accomplishment. And yet they are no longer. Some have passed from this community in recent days, others at this season in years gone by. We take a moment on this Shabbat to remember all of them. And so if you're observing Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days after a loss, and you would like to share the name of those you are remembering, we invite you to do so at this time. As a Temple Israel community, we are observing Shiva and Shloshim following the passing of Audrey Megiddo, wife of Nat, mother of Dan and Nancy, Meg and Matt and Patricia, and grandmother of 5 and great-grandmother of 2. Of Simone Goldfarb, mother of Adam and Melissa, grandmother of Sabrina and Zach. Joan Hailparn Helfgott, aunt of Ellen Hailparn. Florence Blum, mother of Stephen, Robert, and Esther, grandmother of Leo, Allegra, and Benjamin. And Brandon Gillespie, son of Karen and Bob, husband of Roseanne, father of Connor, brother of Evan. So too, we observe the yard sites of the anniversary of those we have lost on this Shabbat. And if you'd like to share a name aloud, we invite you to do so at this time. We're also observing the yard sites, the anniversary of the death of the following members of our TI family: Mark Block, Dr. Lawrence Blum, Joseph Eisner, Mary Epstein, Elaine Evans, Andrew Kent Finney, Stuart Fishman, Jerome Gilman, Francis Ginsberg, Norman Gover, Alex Hyman, Armin Katz, Harry Katz, Ida Krieger, Morris Levine, Max Levinson, Consuela Lipton, Blanche Miller, Max Orland, Joseph Pitterman, Mark Schwartz, Annabelle Schwartz, David Seleb, Max Sosnick, Wilbur Steele, Stella Stiskin, and Ruth Wilkes. And if you're joining us via live stream and have a name to share, you may say it aloud wherever you are or type it into the chat if you choose. And we invite those in the period of Shiva or Shloshim to please rise in body or some other way to elevate your soul. Those observing Yartzeit are invited to rise as well at this time. And we turn to page 598 as we say, Zichronam Livracha. May each and every one of those who we remember with love always be remembered for blessing. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agala v'yizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'elam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yithalal, Shemei dekudesha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huyasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. May the Holy One of Blessing, who creates harmony in the heavens above, bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity. And we say together,
Amen.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
What a pleasure to be together in both joy and celebration and in memory on this evening. Thank you for all of you who joined us in person and all of you who joined us in the live stream. We will have a little bit of Shabbat celebration, a little oneg following the conclusion of our service, and to move us in that direction, Phoebe, we invite you back to the bima so that...
And Alex?
Oh, and Alex is here too. Great. Alex, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Excellent. We're so glad you're here. And we are going to have, you guys can go stand over next to Rabbi NB. Do we have a...
They can project. They're really good.
Okay. All right. Page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila levikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat mi'Yisrael ki banu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol rabim V'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadosh hashabbat lechaim. Let's bless the challah together.
We'll have challah for everyone outside. You guys can step over to the challah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, u'mevorach, Shabbat shalom, u'mevorach, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
On this Shabbat, dear God, may you bless us with rest. May you bless us with friendship. May you bless us with sweetness. May you bless us with joy. And may you bless us with peace. Shabbat shalom.